Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sustainable Horizon podcast. Today we are with the Dean and we are enjoying one of the best material in architecture, fresh air. So I would like to invite you once more to join us in an insightful conversation with our dad. Yes, we are in Africa, you know, and we respect the elder ones, and we respect those that are paving the way. So, Honorable Fobi Nchinda, please, can you present yourself for those who don't know you, and even for those who thought they know who you are?
Thank you very much, Cédrix. Like you say, my name is Fobi Nchinda Simon, architect, parliamentarian for Bamenda Valley. Architect first for the last 50 years, 1975 to 2025. That's 50 years of practicing architecture in Cameroon, because that's when I started practicing. I was born in Bamenda in the late 40s. Did my primary school in St. Joseph's School, Mancon. Went on to Sacred Heart College, where I got my GCE. And I moved on to, I won the ASPAO scholarship, and the American ASPAO scholarship, moved to America where I studied architecture. I graduated from the University of Oregon, Bachelor of Architecture in 1972. I graduated from the University of Illinois, Bachelor of Master's Master of Science in Architectural Engineering in 1974. And I worked with international engineers in San Francisco for a year, and I came back home to fulfill the promise I had made that I would have to come back to work in Cameroon when I was given the scholarship. So 1975 I was here. I've been in Cameroon since, and I've been practicing architecture.
That's great. When I listened to the years, I'm not even sure my mom was already around. And I believe in those days, the country needed things, I would say, much more important than architecture, but people usually travel to become engineers, to become medical doctor, to become administrators. Why architecture?
Actually, the time I worked for the West Cameroon government from 1966 to 1967, after leaving school, I was in the audit department, and we got to see the needs of the country. You are right, Cédrix, to say that people were studying all these disciplines. Cameroon had just become independent, and we needed everybody. We needed the doctors, we needed the teachers, the engineers, and obviously the architects, because the towns of Cameroon had to be built. At that time, there was one architect practicing in the English-speaking part of Cameroon, and everywhere they were crying for need for architects. I looked into it. It seemed to me like a discipline that I could carry out. The Americans were ready to sponsor me for it, and here I am today.
Sure. So you did it after analyzing and after discovering that there was a need for it.
Yes.
So you went on duty.
Yes.
To come back and achieve and propose solutions to our problems. So what did the profession look like in Cameroon when you started?
I can only speak for the English-speaking part of Cameroon,
well,
which was the Northwest and Southwest province at the time. It's now region. At the time, there was the Public Works Department that did everything. There was one architect out of Victoria in the time, and he covered everything. All the buildings, markets, hospitals, everything was done from that office. There were very many people from Britain, Englishmen, that were working in that department. I remember there was only one Cameroonian there at the time. And there was a crying need for Cameroonians in there. And I thought, since I had colleagues that were going to be doing medicine and all the other things, I thought, let me give it a try. I did.
Okay. the beginning of your journey is really connected to those two now regions. What was the difference in terms of mindset then?
I've described up to you what happened until when I left to go and study architecture. When I came back in 1975, the political dispensation had changed, and Cameroon was now the Anglophone part of Cameroon and had been absorbed practically into the Francophone part. They had dissolved the West Cameroon civil service, and there was a central civil service in Yaoundé. So when I came back, there were those architects who were practicing in Limbe, and I decided I was going to move to Yaoundé. Yaoundé was the new headquarters, it was the new horizon, and for a while they made fun of me that first of all I couldn't speak French, and I'm coming out of an English working method in architecture. I'm moving to Yaoundé. I was courageous enough to believe at that time that the future of architecture in Cameroon, as far as government projects were concerned, would be in Yaoundé. I moved to Yaoundé with my poor knowledge of French, poor knowledge of the methodology of doing architecture in French, and I braved it. And when I had to go through a very difficult period, you're learning a new language. In America, there's a way to build, which is not the way the French build. I had to learn that. And whether you like it or not, architecture in Cameroon now is being done in the French language. Anybody who wants to do it in the English language will have to work very hard. And so that's one of the challenges that we'll have to face, and for those who are learning architecture in the English language tradition. It's one of the challenges that must be faced.
Okay, but given your pedigree and your portfolio now, you did you did well coming and settling in Yaoundé in those days. But
I was the first to move in. The two others, my other colleagues at the time was Eman Manga and Namata Ewanga. They stayed in Limbe, but all the others who came after me moved to Yaoundé. And I think we'll all agree that we had a period of about 5 years of transition, which was extremely rough. Rough from a linguistic point of view, rough from learning the French method of designing or presenting design, because the thinking is the same, coming from an Anglo-Saxon tradition. And, but we had to survive it. And luckily, just at that time, the law on the order of architects was passed in 1975. And that is one of the things that enabled the Cameroonian architects to be able to begin a strong fight. And that's the fight has led us to where we are today.
And where are we today?
Where we are today, you see that there are not too many foreigners practicing architecture in Cameroon.
Yes.
Contrary to what was the dispensation in 1975, when there were more foreigners practicing in Cameroon and more who could move in at will. Now they cannot move in without the association to Cameroonians. The fight was long. There was a great architect here at the time, Armand Salomongo, rest his soul. He was one of those who represented the foreign interests in architecture. But there were others like Sange Akwa. I served under him as vice president. Sange Akwa was a great Cameroonian, and if the order of architects is standing on his feet today, you have to give credit first to Sange Akwa. And so the fight was engaged, and unfortunately the fight is not over. The fight must continue. It will take a different form today. It must take a different form. But the fight of conquering the architectural space in Cameroon, that fight must go on.
I may not know the real terms, even in French, I'm not sure. But our country signed some partnerships and agreement that will permit those foreigners to come back and settle again. How can we prepare to face that?
Let us get this clear. Architecture is a universal profession. And the tomorrow, the world of tomorrow is such that people should be able to move anywhere. However, those who are coming from outside, the law, except you change that law, the law insists that they must be associated with Cameroonians. They are not stopped from coming in. They are authorized to come in, but they must be associated with Cameroonians who must be the mandataire of the group. So, you see, we have had some politicians who have used their political power to violate that condition. Politicians in very high places, by the way. But that is against the law. The law is clear and specific on that issue.
All right. The fight will continue, and we hope with your advices, we are going to stand firm and keep on pushing. In your experience, talking of architecture in the society, what is the role of an architect? Because we are used, maybe because we are architects, but I'm not even sure the population is used to the term architects. And even when you hear of it, sometimes we've been called even engineer. That's not wrong in a certain sense. We are engineer in architecture in a certain sense. But what is the role of an architect in a society?
In very simple terms, the role of the architect is to create space, to define space, build it, and build it and manage it for the interests of the people. Where you take the interests of the people and you create the spaces. What does it mean to create space? Spaces are created from need, for reasons of health, for reasons of relaxation. All the spaces that are needed for human existence need the participation of an architect. And please, those spaces include the urban space, which is something that most leaders don't realize. They think that we are there just to design the houses. No. The problems of Cameroon today begin from a poor definition of the urban space. And the urban space is a part of the domain of the architect. Right now, you see roads that are all jammed up. You see buildings that cannot be identified. These are all the domain of the architect, you know. And so the architecture has a lot of work to do.
So when you talk of building space, there's the physical space, the structural space, but if I use your lens, there's also the political space.
Yes.
So you were involved in the fight of making architecture relevant in Cameroon. Why did you thought that was also useful to enter the political sphere?
Let us see what it takes first as an architect.
Yeah, sure.
You, the architect, you have learned how to design space. Unfortunately, it's somebody else who decides which space will be defined. It's the politician. Unfortunately, it's somebody else who decides how much money will be put in and when to put it, and that's the politician. Unfortunately, it's somebody else who decides the calendar, when it will be done, how it will be done. It is the politician. Now you have learned all of this and you're leaving yourself at the disposal of somebody who is not trained. So the architect has one of three choices. Choice number one, to educate the political space. You go out and educate the politicians and, you know. Second choice is to get into that political space yourself and make sure that you animate the decisions that concern the urban space. Yes. The third option, which is what is happening now, is that most architects, they just resign from the problem. I mean, they run away from the problem and don't want to face it. We are condemned to face the problem head on. We are condemned to teach the politicians the importance of architecture. We are condemned, if the politicians fail, to be that politician or to take over that political role to define urban space. It must be done. And it must be done to include urban space as well as the various components of urban space. What are these components? We are talking about the housing component. We are talking about the mobility component, roads, yes, tramways, rails and everything inside. We are talking about the environmental component. We are talking about the green spaces. But above all, tomorrow, today the urban space in Cameroon occupies 60% of the population. Within your lifetime, it will move to 80% to 90% of the population will be in the urban space.
Urban space, yes.
What will they be doing in the urban space? The politician must define that, all right? So that you see that there is an infinite link between architecture and politics. And any architect who thinks that he can run away from the political space is making a big mistake. You follow me? And we must also use the occasion to tell the politicians that they are condemned to use architects and the architectural knowledge to build the tomorrow, to build the urban spaces or all the spaces of tomorrow. The politician must be aware of the role of the architect in this. And if the politician is not aware, architects step in there and take over. That's what I was trying to do when I got into politics, to educate the political space, and if they fail, to take over.
Well, have you been successful in doing that? If you have to draw, to make an analysis of your path there, because when you see a city like you look at a city like Yaoundé, full of waste, it's obvious that architects are not involved in the management of that space because they will have structure it maybe in a way that waste will not even have arrived.
But you have 600 architects. Why are they absent?
That's why
there are 600 architects in the role of, so why are they absent? That is the third option I'm talking about.
Yes.
They are abandoning their role. You understand?
Yes.
All right, so your question is, okay, what success? Part of my, I don't think we will ever get to a point where we will have the perfect town or the perfect space. The whole human effort is one of continuous effort and trying to ameliorate. And that's how I can define my path. We began at a time when there were no Cameroonians designing. Now we have the Cameroonians designing. We began at a time when all Cameroonians were being trained out of the country. Today we are training them here, which is a better thing because they are being trained to the sensitivities of Cameroon,
the context,
the realities of Cameroon. All right? So we are better placed now. But it is a process. At no point will you say you have reached. At this point in time, we stop and take stock, and we realize that, like you say, there's garbage all over the place. Urban addressing is not done. Traffic jams are all over the place. Buildings are sliding down hills and killing people. All these things are still there. So you see that the role of the architect is still a need. The architect is still a need.
Yes. When you explain it, it's clear that architects must not depart from politics. They must not hide from engagement. So where should we start? Now I'm asking the question as, I will not say the new generation because generations are coming and going, but I'm starting my journey, and many others listening might be in the same position. Obviously, there are more youths than the elder people in the national order. We are now training, there's a number of schools, so where as youths should we start?
You start by a mastery of the project, of the profession. You must master the profession. All the aspects of architectural design, architectural supervision, architectural management. As a young professional, you master all of that. With time, you begin to see the areas where you can contribute. Some will remain in the field of conception. Others will move on to graphic expression. Others will move on to interior design. Some will become contractors. And believe you me, the architects of tomorrow, I see more than 50% of us go into construction to build. Because you are having, you have the know-how. So all these various aspects we must master. At the same time, we must be asking the question, what is the objective? The objective is to give every Cameroonian a decent home, a decent town, a decent employment. If at any point we are lacking in those objectives, the architect must step in. And we are not so far from that now. The architect must step in. It is a call, it's a clarion call to the architect to say, wake up. You are one of the few trained to realize the necessity, the needs of the urban space, to realize where the country should go. Between you and I, when I look at Yaoundé, I'm very ashamed to be an architect.
Yes, sure.
When I look at Douala, I cry because I know what it should be. I know what Douala should be. I know what Yaoundé, I know what Bamenda, I know what they should be. You understand? And I look at it, it's not there. I'll give you a quote. It's a quote from politics. Some people see what is and ask why. The architect should see what isn't and ask why not. That's a quote from politics I've adopted to here. All right?
Yes.
Some people see what is and they ask why. The architect should see what isn't and ask why not. Why not? There are so many things that are not or that are so wrong. And why not? And it's also part of my role as a father in the House of Architects to point the direction to our younger architects and say, look, go out there, see what isn't, and make it right.
Yes. I'm like asking myself, why haven't I been thinking like that since the beginning? Obviously, like the others listening, we'll start asking our question. We'll no more be listening to politicians on Sunday complaining and joining them in stating the obvious and create new paths, because I believe our profession is very open to many verticals, as they say in business.
Yes. And horizontals.
Horizontals, yes. Because when you say garbage, it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
When you see our roads, it's an opportunity. Talking of construction, we must engage in constructing, because many times when you design, at the end of the day, you go and look at what you design. It's something else.
It's something else.
It's not more livable. It's not more as, it's not as planned in a certain sense. So actually you say that when you see our cities now, it's not as you have thought it, well, as it's supposed to be.
No, I am ashamed to see. Don't water down my words. All right? I am ashamed to see our cities as they are. Unfortunately, the capacity to change it is in our hands.
Then my next question, has our profession evolved?
Yes, it has evolved. It has evolved from the days when it was all being done by foreigners to the days when we took over in 1975. To the days when we are training our own children now in the discipline at home. It has evolved. But to tell you the truth, there's still a lot of evolution left ahead of us. You understand? Yes. There are so many places that we must evolve to for that ultimate Cameroon that we dream of. When I look at the cities in China, a new country that has taken over its development initiative, and I compare to Cameroon, you cry. All right? You cry. But we have the capacity to do it. And that's my message. My message to the architects coming up. So wake up from your slumber. I combine architecture and move into politics whenever all the ministers come in front of me in my commission in Parliament. One of the questions I ask them, especially the Minister of Urban Planning, is what is the urban vision, you, Minister of Urban Planning, that you have for Cameroon? Give me any town and give me the urban vision you have. They don't have any. You understand? Nobody can tell you what the town of tomorrow will look like. I challenge any minister now or any to tell me what the town of Yaoundé will look like tomorrow. I'm not talking about in 10 years. Tomorrow. All right?
Yes.
You sitting here, architect, unfortunately, you know how to design towns. But what will Yaoundé look like? What will Douala look like tomorrow? Nobody can tell me. That is the challenge. Unfortunately for you, Yaoundé will begin from Balmayo. It will go all the way to Obala. It will go all the way to Esse. You understand? That's the Yaoundé. And it will keep spreading. Urban sprawl is going to be the, if you don't step in, there will be urban sprawl. If you've ever taken a flight into Chang, to go, you see every place is built. Nothing is structured. So we're going to lose our green spaces. There will be no green spaces left in Cameroon because the towns would have taken over. You may not be able to grow your food. You know, the ecological spaces will be gone. Where are the playgrounds? Where are they? You know, where are the green spaces? All our riverbeds are polluted now. Is that what you want? Other people go strolling. There is no urban vision. Sorry, I'm sorry to say this, but it must be said. And we must wake up. The new architect of tomorrow must be a well-trained architect with a social conscience who defines the objectives of the country and works toward it.
Yes. We are heading now to the architecture and economic development section. You thought of social concerns, and you are, how would they say it? You are engaged in SDF, Social Democratic Front. What is a social conscience? What do you put in? Obviously, I can have some words: engagement, passion for the country, integrity, ethics, fighting against corruption, etc., etc.
That are not great. Those are great notions you're talking about. Ethics, fighting against corruption.
Yes.
That is one of the biggest problems you have in this, the corruption. If you can stop it, you're going to save 40% of your budget, sir. Wow. 40% of your budget is being lost because of corruption. And if we've done a study and we can tell you, all right? And I just asked a simple question. What is your vision? Those are your beautiful children there. Which Cameroon do you want them to live in? All right? In this same Cameroon I'm living in, I said no. First of all, from the urban point of view, from the point of view of corruption, you ask for what is the social vision? I will talk about the social contract in the SDF where I come from. All right? Power to the people and equal opportunity for everybody. That's our slogan. What does it mean, power to the people? It means that the people must decide. It means that it is the interest of the people that counts. Their future, their well-being, those are the things that matter. And I think it should matter to everybody. Equal opportunity to everybody means that you are a child of God. You are entitled to the best your country can give you. You follow me? Yes. Those are simple notions that are so powerful. Other countries have engraved it in their constitution. All right? And the American Constitution is very, very clear. You know, we the people. You understand? So these are political notions. Once you have it, it's like a religion. Everything else flows from there. All right? That social contract is whenever you see a Cameroonian, you are seeing a child of God who is entitled to the best. So when you do a concours, you say you want the best. Nobody can come and give you 5 million to win that concours. You say, no, sir, keep that money. I want the best among you here. You follow me?
I follow.
Yes, because you have built a Cameroon that is inclusive for everybody. For everybody. So it is elementary. It is elementary, but we must all drink from that same source. You follow me? That is the social engagement. And when you go to do architecture, it is the same thing. When you sit down to design a building, or you are looking at the owners, the people who use that building, whether they have the means to do it, how they will maintain it through time, all those things. And when you draw a line, it's telling you something, that this is how you want to go. You want, all right. The social consciousness.
their legal rights
Yes.
to enjoy the country
Yes.
at the fullest of their own capacity in respect of the others.
Yes.
Yes. Now, obviously, we were talking of it, but not directly, so my question will be more direct now. What policies or framework are needed to better value the architect contribution?
If I said there was a framework, I'll be lying to you. Because any framework must be evolutive. What we do is that we fix the objectives. All right? If we want to value the architectural profession, what do? We want to create the best environments that Cameroon can offer. We want to build the best schools that Cameroon can have, build the best hospitals, the best towns. Everything we do, we stand heads and shoulders above the others. If that is the objective, so like I say, we begin by training our children well. Their conscience, but they are doing it for their own God's children, so they do the best in their time, and all those little things that you put together to make a great nation. That is so simple, but it requires a lot of work.
Yes.
And a lot of commitment. The word is commitment. Any architect who is committed to his profession will succeed.
Great. You thought of training our children, training the new architects well. What are I'll not say new, but what are the notions that are beyond design and in association with political or let's say social engagement? Because some could be afraid of the word politics here in Cameroon, but they should not. What are the notions, the other topics that we must put in our educational pathway to make sure that the guy, once he becomes an architect, he is ready to fight for change?
I will immediately think of three. One is the culture. He must be imbibed. He must have his feet into our cultures. When I say cultures, Cameroon will have about 300 variations of culture, but it's all Cameroonian. For you to design, you must understand that culture. How does the Cameroonian want to live today and tomorrow? You follow me? You will not design in Cameroon as you're designing in China, or you follow me? So the first thing you must do is understand the culture, live the culture, love the culture, want to propagate the culture. And there are places where the culture will not be good. You may want to modify it, but you know exactly what you're modifying. You understand? Yes. So the first thing is to live your culture, to know it. The second aspect I will talk about is the local materials. And I want to be very careful with that word because people have used it in a positive and negative sense. For local materials, let me say there are about 4 local materials. One, what we have is wood. Wood is a local material we have in Cameroon. The earth is another local material we have, that is laterite. And we also have clay. There's laterite, there's clay, and there's stone. You follow me?
Yes.
All right. There are other materials that are local that will have to be, you will find them as you go places. By learning to use these materials correctly, you are reducing the cost of construction. You are getting the locals involved in the building process. You follow me? So when we say local materials, what we are saying is that we are being more Cameroonian. Once you've learned the Cameroon culture and you learn to use the local materials, you follow me? Then you are actually reducing our balance, our debt to the outside world, and that money can now be used for other things. You see the social consciousness I'm talking about.
I'm saying.
Right. So I have just named 2, but we can go ahead and pose the next question, which is the more daring one. How do Cameroonians of tomorrow want to live?
Good transition.
Yes, so this is, and the architect must be on the forefront of that. Are you with me? Let me put my foot on the plate, if you permit.
Yes.
There are many jobs that will be taken over by artificial intelligence tomorrow. So how will the Cameroonian live? There will be a lot of work in the sports and recreation area, which we must begin to develop now. There must, environmental sustainability must become a sure part of our thinking. How do we sustain this earth? Are you with? So these are the things of tomorrow that you must begin to think about today. I think, but it all comes from a social consciousness. Protect Cameroon, protect the earth. Protect the children of the earth.
Yes, I said it was a great transition because we are moving to identity and African future.
Yes.
And what kind of architecture do we need for Africa today and tomorrow? Obviously, you said it must be based on environmental consciousness.
Yes.
And taking in account of our cultures and the local
materials,
resources,
yes,
in general.
Yes.
And it will bring two approaches. First of all, mastering how it is being used now, but by developing it, we also develop a specific industry.
Exactly.
Where we are not in competition with others' industry.
Exactly.
Because it's an industry based on
what we have,
our ingenuity and our capacity to keep on developing.
Yes.
Once the industry is developed, I can see it going back to the universities, because industries will need more research,
exactly,
more grounded work on the various areas under which they are performing. And that research will help develop new ground again. And in that sense, nobody will fighting each other because of political position, but we will be fighting economically, within, and by proposing alternatives to...
Do you realize that the analysis you've just made a case, a very strong case for why the architect must be in politics? Because that policy must be developed.
Sure.
You have made the finest case I heard for architects being involved in politics. All the combination you talked about, getting the researchers doing all that, there must be a political will to do it. Thank you for that contribution.
So, by doing that, we will no more ask the question of modernity or Africanity.
It's a continuum.
Yes, because Africanity will be just what we have developed and our contribution to the world. Yes,
your growth. Your normal growth.
Yes. So I'll ask.
But there must be a political will to it.
That's clearer to me now.
Right.
So I may come back to see you for other reasons now. So, what are your thoughts on local materials, traditions, but most of all, because we talk of it, artificial or design intelligence?
You will be surprised by my thoughts about artificial intelligence. That is one domain in which Cameroon can lead the way.
I'm not surprised.
For your information, I was one of those who designed, and we the students from Sacred Heart College who went to Mancon, we designed and offered Sacred Heart College the first Center for Information Technology, a secondary school. And if you look at those guys now, most of the guys now who are in the computer domain, the digital domain, they came out of that training. So I am now making a prediction that Cameroon can lead in artificial intelligence. We have the brain power necessary, and it doesn't take much by way of investments that the other countries are beating ahead of us. If we do, and if we take our responsibilities there to lead the way in artificial intelligence, not only are we going to be creating a lot of work, you follow me, a lot of space for work for our children, but we are also going to be developing a lot of things. Let me come back to architecture, because whether you like it or not, architecture will change tomorrow because of artificial intelligence.
Sure.
They are leading the way already. And I want us to position ourselves to be leaders in that domain. Are you with me? We must position ourselves to be leaders in that domain. It will take a political will to do so. It takes a politician to say, guys, this is where we're going. We're putting the money there. You understand? I'm looking for the 100 best digital brains to send them in there. And we pay them for a while to, you follow me?
Yes.
And you do that every year to get the results. The political will is necessary. For artificial intelligence, it must be done. It must be done. And if you look at it, secondly, it affects every domain, even in agriculture, in education, in construction. Artificial intelligence is there. Not to talk of medicine again. In the domain of medicine is, we must be present there.
Yes, sure, we must be present there. And the first take I have is you making the link of us leading the world. Yes, that is a bold statement, but I can understand why not.
Why not?
I can understand where you stand.
You see what is not, and you ask why not.
Yes. Yeah. Because those cities considered as the best of the world showed us how much they were not relevant during COVID period. Yes. People were locked up.
Yes.
And they were stressed, and some died.
Yes.
The cities were feeling better. The nature was revitalized in some places. But in Africa, it was a little bit different. We might not have all the data and statistics, but the prediction failed. Now, we still have some artifacts of our past. Our local constructions, some villages still protect their structures, their socio-economical environment. If you add that the capacity of analysis of artificial intelligence with a vision, yes, I think you can step ahead many aspects that people consider as the normal steps for development. So once more, if we are not engaged politically, how will we make it happen?
How will we make it happen?
Because when we talk of education, I'm a little bit sad when I see the kids, because I'm asking myself, the world have changed, but they're saying doing yes, maybe it's useful, but when are they using, and why are they not using the tools of tomorrow? And in your time, literacy was reading and speaking.
Yes.
In their time, literacy will be competing.
Is the pad.
It's on
computer pad.
Yes, it's on computers.
Let me take a minute to make a statement, because when we talk of the political will, people may make a mistake to think that we're talking only about the top. You see, the way the country is set up, we have all the municipal councils. We have the regional councils. I think there are about 300 or 370.
Yes, 360 something. Yes.
Now, imagine that an architect, a young architect, is working at the level of his council. You understand? And these ideas that we are talking about, he's involved at the level of the council. Do you realize the impact that would have? So it's not only at the national level, ministers and all that stuff, but at every local level you are, whether you are in a school board or whatever, the political engagement begins at every level. At your church, when people meet in church, you see that political commitment must begin at all levels. So it is not as if, even at the level of voting for the mayor, the architect should be there to lead the way to argue that this particular person, he is better indicated because he can do this, he had told us. You follow me? Yes. At the level of the towns, at the levels of the villages, the conservation of our waterways, the conservation of our drinking points. You follow me? All those things. Of our farmlands, we must conserve our farmlands. Of all those things at the different levels, you need the education of the architect. He has been trained for it. So when I talk of political commitment, I am not only talking of the top. I'm talking of bottom up. Every level. It is important.
Yes. Now, we will talk of what you've been doing as an architect, and we start by asking what the African urban future look like. In our office in 2022, we did the Scarf City, we call it like that, of Mokolo in the far north, not this Mokolo, because I visited in 2016 when I was doing my master's, the villages there in the far north, and I was astonished with how they were building on the mountain, interconnectivity, the way even the animals were having their places, the structural organizations of the various spaces. There's always an end before the end, and it comes with a question. Dear Dean, dear Sir, Honorable, what is your advice for the next generation? Not only of architects, of African, of Cameroonian, of Pan-Africans, in engagement, in leadership, whatever the topic suits you the most.
First, let me say that it's a great profession. The profession of architecture is a great profession. It has been very good to me. I have given it my best, and I'm happy that I chose that profession. I would like all of you architects to take the challenge of making it the greatest profession you ever know. And we have that possibility to do so. It's a great profession. But there are certain things that must be done. The first thing that must be done, as we've said, is that you must learn the profession correctly. Learn the objectives of the profession. You are designing spaces for God's children. The design must be perfect, or as close to perfection as you can get. You must design using all the materials that you find locally that you can develop for the people, for the children of Cameroon. It can be done. It must be done. You must not only design the spaces, but you must also think of the urban space that will include all the various academic, residential, environmental, and all the other spaces that constitute the human space. All of that must be taken into account. You must project yourself into the future, a future of serenity, of calm, of beauty, where the Cameroonian child, the Cameroonian of tomorrow, God's child, is being served by the best of your abilities, to the best of your abilities, and being served to the best of their own need. One of the ways to do it, once you've done through the architecture, is by being involved in the creating the political will that must bring these changes. If you can master your profession and help to influence the political will about bringing these things to future, I think we have a great Cameroon ahead of us. And our towns will be the best if we can, or to the best of our abilities. Our environment will be the best. And I think we'll enjoy the profession. The challenges of the artificial intelligence must be taken head on. The challenge is coming, whether you like it or not. You can take that challenge and lead it. Be a leader in the field. In Cameroon, I don't see why we should not be leaders in it. We can do it. So, Cédrix, thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's a great honor, and I'm always at your disposal for any other subject you want us to discuss. God bless you all.
Amen, and thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, is the end. Don't forget to comment, to share, to critique even, and to join us in this adventure of building the sustainable horizons. Thank you.
Be yourself in.
Yes, I.